Did you know that birds tend to have divorces? Came as a huge shock to me recently because I was reading about albatross, which is my absolute favorite bird. And I love them because they mate for life and they always stay connected throughout life, no matter what. But recently, because of global warming, the divorce rate of albatross couples has gone up. And I was heartbroken. It just hurt me so much to realize that, well, true love is really dying out. And what do I do in that moment? I've just woken up and I hear this news and I decide I want a brownie. Now, the thing is, I know that having so much of sugar and fat and gluten first thing in the morning is not ideal. I know that. And every single time I fall sick and I have the flu, I promise myself that no matter what, I am going to be healthy from here on. But then, I'm upset. The birds are divorcing. It's just a brownie. And, stress also gives us problems. So, what's the harm? This is Sonalia Chatterjee, and you are listening to Health Wealth, a podcast that wants to leave you feeling factually informed but also incredibly motivated to make the right choices for your well being. As a writer, I do believe in the power of words. But when it comes to the world of salt, sugar, and fat, even I was taken in. The thing is, I didn't see these compounds as something addictive. I just saw them as something we eat. So when I tell myself that I'm going to have an occasional treat, and I say it often on this podcast that, life is too short. You can have a chocolate biscuit once in a while. But when I say that, when I keep telling myself it's occasional, what I forgot is I've never defined that word occasional, right? So it's like, oh, that car cut ahead of me. I'm stressed. Let me have an ice cream. Or my boss has just suddenly preponed the deadline. I have no idea what to do right now. So I need a packet of chips. Or I had a fight with my husband. He's not listening to me. It's okay for me to order a burger today. There's nothing wrong with that. And doing this, I started realizing that occasional became more frequent than was necessary. And I am pre-diabetic. I do have the genes for diabetes as well. I have been obese. I'm not obese for a long time, but I have been. So it was of concern to me. So I said, I'm going to change that word. I'm going to call it a rare cookie or a rare treat. So fine. I said, okay, I'll go 10 days without anything sweet or fatty, or I'll go 2 weeks without it. But then my brain is so addicted to these things that it keeps finding reasons to break that rarity. So it'll be 2 days in, I'll be like, okay, I had one biscuit, but 10 days later, I won't have. After today, for 10 days, nothing. And then 3 days later, I had, a big bar of chocolate in the car. And I'm like, but 10 days later, I'll have the next one. And it continues like this. So then I said, I'm not going to listen to my own words. I will listen to the words of someone else. So I found this amazing book. It's called, let me tell you the exact name because you should get it. It's called Salt, Sugar, Fat: How the Food Giants Hooked Us. It's a book by Michael Moss, and it talks about the incredible amount of research that the food industry puts into making the snacks and the things it produces addictive. They actually find that right balance of salt and sugar. So you really can't eat just one. And none of us actually question that why is it that we can't eat just one? Why is it that, have you ever picked up a piece of chips and just had one piece? It doesn't work like that. And that helped me tremendously when I started associating sugar and fat and salt with the same level of addiction as I would if I had to cut out alcohol or smoking or, social media addiction. I realized it's not that easy. So I started something which I said was 30 days, no sugar, no added fat, just the bare minimum. And I went 30 days. I actually did. I said, no, no, no. If my brain was trying to tell me, have that sugar, I would be like, no, I'm addicted. I'm not going to have it. This is an addiction. And I kept going. And when I finally finished 30 days and I had a piece of ice cream, it was so sweet. It was so sweet. I thought, I felt like vomiting. And it was fascinating to me because I became my own human guinea pig in a way. And that's when I decided that I'm going to have as little of added sugar as possible. And if I do, I will make it at home. I will not go out and have it. Because if it's rare anyways, that means that I don't have to do it very often. So I make it at home and I don't even call it as a healthy treat or something because it's not healthy. Even if I make it with dates or I make it with, almonds, it's still got sugar. It's still got added fat in it. It's just because I put almonds and dates doesn't mean I can eat a whole lot of it. So that's how I sort of broke my sugar addiction. But I do wonder, what if I failed? What if I couldn't have done this? What if I remained obese to the point that I got diabetes? Is that it? Like, will I be condemned to a life of insulin forever? Watching what I eat, going to the doctor, stressing over my blood sugar and, blood tests and so on. And it is something that stayed with me. And in fact, recently there's been a lot of talk that there have been researchers who managed to reverse type 1 diabetes. And it sort of made me think, can you reverse diabetes? I mean, if you fail, can we sort of undo that damage today with all that medical science has to offer? To help me answer this question, we have with us today somebody who is very familiar with a certain new technique with which diabetes can be reversed or addressed. His name is Dr. Raman Goyal, and he is a noted bariatric surgeon in Bombay. He heads the bariatric surgery division at Wockhardt Hospitals in the city. And hello, sir.
Hi, hi
Thank you so much for
Sonali.
joining us. Thank you.
Thank you for having me here.
Thank you. Very quickly, for somebody who might not know what is a bariatric surgeon, what do you do?
Oh, I cut open people and I fix up their problems. So, bariatric surgeon basically came from a background that they fix up people with excess weight, and we do some jugglery on their stomach and intestine so that they continue to lose weight and maintain weight in long run.
So you have spent a fair amount of your career being around obese or overweight people. Has the incidences of fat and overweight people increased in India?
Yeah, obviously, Sonali, all over the country and all over the world, the number of people with obesity, it's increasing. And it's visible and it's statistically also rising. So certainly, as you're asking, obesity is increasing all over the country, even in rural areas.
Yeah. And the thing is, very often when I think of fat or I think of a fat person, I see it purely as a cosmetic thing, as an external thing. But there is also a very strong link between fat and diabetes. Can you explain that?
So, this is seen that if somebody is overweight, the percentage of diabetes increases substantially. So it's a geometrical progression. So if somebody is, let's say, normal weight, he is going to have this much diabetes, but the moment he puts on 5 kgs, diabetes multiplies 25 times in that person. So there is a direct connection between being overweight and the increasing incidence of diabetes in that population.
Yeah.
And there can be multiple reasons, but at the moment we are not going into technical side. Just needless to say that obesity predisposes to diabetes.
Yeah. Um, Actually, it's really interesting that when I first wanted to do this episode with you, I had said, let's talk about fat. You tell me what you see when you cut people open. But you had a much more interesting aspect to it, and I'm very excited that we're going to talk about surgery reversing diabetes, or at least helping manage it better. Can you tell me what this surgery is?
Personally, when we cut somebody open, we see oceans of fat inside in many patients. So we see fat everywhere, fat in
How
the
do you ever
liver.
eat butter then? How do you
Oh,
look at the butter and
I've
get
given it up.
revolted? So that's the
So I've
trick of
given it
getting rid
up.
of fat. Become a bariatric surgeon.
Oh, not necessarily. I know bariatric surgeons who themselves need a surgery. But the when we do these surgeries, even in patients with diabetes who are not even not obese, and there also we see so much fat inside. So externally they look almost like a normal person, and we say why this person has diabetes. He is not obese or is not morbidly obese, but they still have a lot of fat inside. And so when we are talking of surgery for diabetes, we do primarily what we have been doing in bariatric. We make the stomach small and join a part of intestine to it. So we know over years, over decades, that when food reaches the last part of the intestine faster, it produces a hormone from there which helps in control of diabetes. Now, this knowledge was known, but its effectiveness was not established. And over decades, this research was going on that can we use a bariatric surgery only to treat diabetes? And when this research publications started coming in 2000, 2004, uh, it became very exciting that now we can treat diabetes even before the weight loss starts. And it is seen in our own patients that within 6 to 7 days of surgery, their sugars become normal when they have hardly lost 2, 3 kg weight, but their sugars become normal. So that is the kind of excitement that is there in surgeons' mind nowadays, that we can treat diabetes and we can help such large number of patients who are otherwise helpless. I don't know whether anybody in your family is diabetic, but in the families where there is a diabetes, you know the kind of helplessness. They are injecting themselves 3 times a day. They are checking their blood sugar 3 times a day. They are exercising, and still sugars are in 250, 300, 400. And they don't know what to do. I mean, they are all educated people who understand that they can help control their disease, but they are helpless. So, from that background, uh, at least I find surgery a very, very exciting branch to treat diabetes.
Yeah. Actually, for me, when I see a diabetes patient, it's not just the medicine that they have to take, but also the way it impacts their eyes or the way it starts to impact their feet. We think of blood sugar as, just chini khana ya nahi khana, but the subsequent impact on the quality of your life. For example, if I'm an artist and I have diabetes and tomorrow I can't see well, it basically takes my livelihood away as well, right?
Absolutely. So, since you mentioned about, not being able to see, I remember one of the first few patients I did only for diabetes was in 2008. And this gentleman was working in Qatar, a Malayali person, and he was a construction supervisor. And he lost his vision there. And then, as a typical immigrant who was of no use to he was sent back to India. And this eldest brother of the family, who kept sending money from Qatar to take care of his family, suddenly became a dependent on his younger brothers and family, and it was a bad phase for him. And when I operated him, he said, "Can I get my vision back?" I said, "No, that's not going to happen. You already lost it. He said, I wish I had come to you 5 years earlier and I would have retained my job, I would have retained my respect. So I completely agree that, it's not about just taking medicines or controlling blood sugar. It's about so many things more in when it comes to diabetes.
Yeah. You said that line that, this person wished they'd come to you sooner. Who is the right person to come to you for this surgery right now? Who can opt for it?
So first thing is this is for type 2 diabetes. Uh, for those who don't understand this, type 1 diabetes, which generally comes in childhood, requires insulin at a very early stage, maybe right from beginning. So these children who are 5, 10, 12 years old are already on insulin. We can't help them. But those who have diabetes in 20s or 30s or later, who are on tablets for a few years and then they start on insulin, these are the people we can help. Second thing is uh, those who are still having some pancreatic function, and there are specific tests to determine that. Those tests are not normally done when you go to a physician for blood sugar control because their target is only to control the blood sugar. While when I do the surgery, I want to be sure that the surgery works. So we do those tests to determine that there is pancreatic function. Unfortunately, in large number of patients, pancreatic function is good, even if they are taking insulin for years. And so these are basically two criterias on base of which we do certain blood tests and then we go ahead with surgery.
And is there something that one should do to prepare for this surgery, mentally or physically?
Oh yes, both ways and lots of them. So besides just assessing the pancreatic function, we also see there all other functions, heart, kidney, eyes, you can imagine everything, lungs, their feet, because diabetes does affect feet. And then mentally, they should be prepared because ultimately it's the same surgery that we are doing for weight loss. So suppose I do it on somebody who is just 8, 9 kgs overweight. He has to be prepared that he's going to lose 8 to 10 kgs. He can become much slimmer, thinner, and these people are not mentally prepared to lose weight. While a bariatric patient who is 40 kg overweight is very happy if he loses 30 kgs, but somebody who is just 10 kg overweight is not happy losing those 10 kgs. So they have to be mentally prepared. They have to be prepared that in this surgery, the food quantity is less, very less. So they should be aware of that, and that they will need some supplements for a long, long time, or maybe lifetime after this surgery in terms of vitamins. Now, many people believe that, why should we be forced to take vitamins? But in diabetes as such, they are expected to take those vitamins even without surgery, like vitamin B12, vitamin D, and all those things, which are deficient in most of us even without surgery. So there is a lot of counseling that goes through before surgery, and that continues after surgery too. Yeah.
Yeah. So, post surgery, there's one aspect of it which, you know, I like to talk about with every surgeon I ever get on the show. So, could you tell me a little bit about the importance of rest after a surgery?
I think rest is very important because the body is in a healing phase. And if the person sleeps adequately or rests adequately, that's good. That's good for them. But also on the other side, if they resume work early, they get distracted from the requirements of surgery, in terms of minor pains, aches and pains, uh, the requirement of having liquids all the time. So they are working and sipping rather than sitting and thinking about sipping. So I think we have moved much ahead in terms of recovery from surgery. Surgery now, in majority of the patients, can be a painless experience because of better pain protocols. Their mobility is so much better because these are keyhole surgeries. Within 5 to 6 hours, they are able to walk, they are able to drink, they are able to use the toilet, and a large number of them can go home within about 24 to 48 hours. So I think the surgical experiences are changing over time, and for the betterment of the experience, let's say.
Do you feel thankful that there's so much of technology coming into surgery? Because I mean, I hear about augmented reality surgeons now, robotic surgeries, so all over the place. What's it like for a surgeon who's seen pre and post tech coming in?
I think we are all products of technology given knowledge. It's very easily to philosophize that technology is bad, we should not do that. But the very fact that we have this interview going, we are using technology every day. We do the same thing in surgery. I completely understand that the man behind the technology is equally important, so that there's no taking away the training and experience of the person who is using the technology. A fool with tool will still be a fool. I am aware of that. But technology play a very important part in making things better. There are many technologies which came and which fell off on the way as we progressed, and that will keep on happening. I don't know how much artificial intelligence will contribute to the surgery, but at the moment, uh, it's just coming and we are analyzing it, and we are getting to know the limitations and the benefits. But overall, Sonali, I completely agree. Technology does help, and we use it. We keep learning, even though we are in this branch for a long time. Well, it's coming at such fast pace that you need to keep abreast of whatever is coming.
Yeah,
And most of the times, it's useful. We do use it every day.
it's a lot of learning for doctors. Can we talk a little bit about the psychological or angle or and the emotional angle of eating and obesity? Because it's okay to come and do the surgery and you knock off the weight, but that's not going to stop me from putting the weight back on because so much of eating is linked to emotions and stress and your mental well-being at times. um can you tell me how dangerous is it to continuously do bariatric surgeries? Like, I come and lose 10 kilos, put on 10 kilos, lose 10 kilos. I can afford it, right? Affordability has gone up in some sections, but is it dangerous to do that? And B, how do you keep the weight off then?
So, Sonali, it's like this. Bariatric surgery is done in a certain section of patients. Is not a candidate for surgery. Those who qualify to have this surgery, most of them, let's say almost 80% of them, have suffered enough that they want to make the first surgery successful. There are people, 15-20% of them, who are doing it for cosmetic reason. They are always there. But 80% of them have been suffering from it for years, decades. They have been going to health farms, spending a lot of money, and not it's not a question of money alone, suffering from it physically and mentally. You know, patients with obesity, people with obesity are extra sensitive to what how others are perceiving them. Their ears are always up there, trying to hear all those whispers and jokes which go around when they enter a restaurant. They are hurt when uh, a young girl's father says, "Why are you eating that extra chapati?" Now that girl might be exercising 3 hours a day in the gym, but some stranger uncle or some friend, a remote friend tells, Why don't you exercise? So I think there is a lot of, as you are rightly pointed out, there is a lot of psychological element or stigma attached to obesity. Now, what happens after surgery? Those people who have gone through this are generally able to keep off the weight because we are not changing the genes, we are not operating on your brains. So the craving or the genetic predisposition to, or the tendency, sorry, tendency to put on weight still remains there. So what they need is not willpower. They, all of them, I can talk to you about willpower a little later. All of them have very strong willpower. They need to learn the tricks of the trade. They need to learn the techniques that they don't have craving. They need to learn the art of saying no, you know. And this is where bariatric programs come into picture because surgery is just the beginning of a weight loss journey. The real thing happens after surgery.
Yeah.
Those who follow up with us do very well. And I can say, we have published our data repeatedly. 80 to 85% patients do maintain their weight even after 10 years. So it's not that patients, even those who can afford, go again and again to the surgery. No, that's not right. Because the surgical results become less and less effective if you do a second or third surgery. So we tell the patient, first attempt is your best chance to lose and to keep it off. Every time you if you regain, and majority of them do not regain, and even if they regain 4 5 kgs, suddenly they become very conscious of it and they come back and we help them to maintain it at that level.
Yeah. It's interesting. I once met a obese person who weighed about, I mean, the BMI was incredibly high and weighed about 110 kilos for someone who was 5'5". And we were talking, and I said, she was very anti-fat shaming, and she was very pro being fat. Like, you accept me in whatever body shape I am. And I was fine. I was listening to her. But she was so stubborn about being fat, that being fat is fine. It's just another body shape, that it's not doing anything bad to me. And I know that there's some health problems, but it's fine. And over time, I started talking to her, and she talked about her childhood. So, as a child, her mother insisted that she eat a lot of rice, a lot of potatoes, and a lot of butter every morning. And she used to reward her, every time she did well with jalebis and gulab jamuns and chocolates. And then she'd go to someone's house and they'd be like, how can you not have this kachori? You have to have it. So, on one hand, everyone was feeding her. But on the other hand, as she put on weight because she's eating a lot, everyone kept shaming her. So they kept saying, oh, you're getting fat, you're looking horrible. And she's like, if I'm getting fat, then why are you giving me the gulab jamun? Because not eating that is disrespectful. Being fat is being greedy. And that dichotomy of inputs into a child's head just made it so overwhelming that she just decided, in some ways, I felt she'd given up. It was like, no, this is it. Let me be fat, let me be at peace. And that is such a complicated, like, I think obesity is such a complicated social problem as well, right?
Yeah, you have pointed it so well. So one of the things that I would like to clarify that by calling somebody obese or overweight, we are actually stigmatizing him. So nowadays we don't use the word obese person or obese woman. We say person with obesity. So it's always PWO, person with obesity, and we don't use the words obese person as such. Now, as far as this issue is concerned, most of them have given up long time back because they know that they are not the reason for their obesity. One of the things that message should go is that these are the people who are victims of a disease. They are not the culprits. It's their biology which is making them put on weight, and it's not their lack of willpower. Surprisingly, majority of those who come for surgery or who are overweight exercise, majority of them do not smoke. A good number of them don't consume alcohol. And these percentages are much better than among those who are thin people. So uh, uh, a sort of environment is created that this is because the person is not exercising or he's eating wrong foods. But even if he eats right food, that person is likely to put on weight. And that is where the biggest problem is. And you spoke to that person, you feel that person is anti-body shaming. I mean, obviously nobody should do body shaming. That's a part. But when they come to our consulting room, majority of them break down within 5 minutes. The moment they realize that there was something available which they could have used 20 years back or 5 years back and could have got out of this problem, it's such a emotional breakdown or emotional relief that comes on their head that it's difficult to explain. And it's not about them, it's about their parents. I remember a 19-year-old girl, the only daughter of a couple, and they came and she was like going to gym 3 hours a day and not losing weight, and they were helpless. And the father asked me, what can I do? I can spend money, I can get her the best gym, and she's eating healthy and she's not losing weight. So we operated her, and 3 years later, she was like 60 kgs from some 130, 35 kgs. And she came to one of the support group meetings, which we hold every quarter. And typically, parents of such young people do not want them to be introduced. They sit quietly because they feel that people should not know that. And this girl said, I want to speak out. And she stood up, she introduced herself and said, I had this surgery 3 years back and I was so much and I lost so much weight. And and then the father said, I want to speak out also now. And he said that we have recovered our daughter because earlier our daughter will never go out with us for any party or a wedding because she felt everybody will shame her there. And now it's the other way. Now the daughter wants to lead us to various places and she wants to travel all over the world. So these are the issues, it's as you rightly said, it's a social issue. Nowadays, the youngsters, at least in the city of Mumbai, they call their friends during surgery. I mean, earlier people were not even telling their family members, except the parents. Now they call their friends, they sit in the hospital room, they chit chat and joke around, and these friends become an asset for that person because when this person who had surgery goes to their house for a dinner, the friend tells the mother, see, she is coming, she needs protein, she doesn't need fat. Please make sure that there's a healthy diet available for them. Yeah. So I think it's entirely a social problem and compounded by ignorance and insensitivity of the society towards people with obesity.
I'm really glad that you talked about everything that you have because obesity is such a delicate and sensitive subject. I read a book recently. It's called Magic Pill by Johann Hari, and when I read that book, it really left such a profound impact on my mind because it made me realize my own weight loss journey. I've been 92 kilos. I was obese. I was diagnosed with pre-diabetes, and I did manage to get out of it. And a lot of that happened because I surrounded myself with the right kind of people. The people who talk to you and the way that they talk to you matters a whole lot. If someone is lecturing you, it doesn't actually make you want to lose weight. You want to eat more because you're stressed out. You feel so demotivated, you feel so demoralized that you just give up, or you at times go through incredibly hard diets, just drinking juices, and that backfires, and overall you just lose your health. So it is so important to be around the right kind of people. What are your advices for weight loss? Please do share your journey with us. You can write to us at pods@indiatoday.com, or you can message us on 8588966996. And if you enjoyed this episode, and if this episode has helped increase your knowledge about human well being, then please do leave us a good rating. We are there on Apple, Spotify, YouTube Music, and the India Today website.